What up, YouTube? It's not just self-determination. So today I was at work and I listened to a couple of videos. I think it was mainly the video by Tom Biz JS that sparked this in me. And I wrote notes just so I wouldn't forget to actually do a video on this. I'll actually read the notes that I wrote. Basically, and this is in reference to not just the current racial climate in the country, but also what's been going on with the boxing community as well, with Angel Garcia and his repetitive use of the N word, disrespecting Keith Thurman and Oscar De La Hoya and his email scandal. Let's see. So these are the notes I wrote. Why are people so willing to acknowledge racism? I'm sorry, unwilling to acknowledge racism. Just like during slavery, the slave master tried to make it seem as though the African was crazy for not wanting to be a slave. People today try to minimize blacks' complaints about blatant racism and bias as if we make up that which can be proven. And I remember listening to a Dr. Umar Johnson lecture about, and I'm not sure if it's this word or this guy, and if there was more than one person who went through the process of trying to claim us crazy for not wanting to be slaves, then that's just crazy. But I think this is the guy. And the word is called Drapetomania. It's a mental illness. Drapetomania was a conjectural mental illness that in 1851, this is what, 16, 15, 14 years before the 13th Amendment and Emancipation Proclamation, American physician Samuel A. Cartwright hypothesized to cause black slaves to flee captivity. It has been since debunked as pseudoscience and part of the edifice of scientific racism. So, basically, let's see. In Diseases and Peculiarities of the Negro Race, Cartwright points out that the Bible calls for a slave to be submissive to his master, and by doing so, the slave will have no desire to run away. If the white man attempts to oppose the deity's will by trying to make the Negro anything else than, quote, a submissive knee bender, end quote, which the Almighty declared he should be, one of the issues that I do have with Christianity, basically writing off on and not having an opposition to slavery in the Old or the New Testament. Read it, look it up yourself. By trying to raise him to a level with himself, or by putting himself on an equality with the Negro, or if he abuses the power which God has given him over his fellow man by being cruel to him or punishing him in anger, or by neglecting to protect him from the wants and abuses of his fellow servants and all others, or by denying him the usual comforts and necessaries, shouldn't it be necessities of life, the Negro will run away. But if he keeps him in the position that we learn from the scriptures was intended to occupy, that is, the position of submission, and if his master or overseer be kind and gracious in his hearing towards him without condescension, and at the same time ministers to his physical wants and protects him from the abuses, the Negro is spellbound and cannot run away, blah, blah, blah. Racist bastard. Cartwright described the disorder, which he said was unknown to our medical authorities, although its diagnostic symptom, the absconding from service, is well known to our planters and overseers. In a paper delivered before the Medical Association of Louisiana that was widely reprinted, he stated that the malady was a consequence of the masters who, quote, made themselves too familiar with slaves, treating them as equals, end quote. Because, you don't want to treat other people like people and shit. In any event, prevention and remedy. Now, here's where it gets interesting to me. In addition to identifying drapetomania, Cartwright prescribed a remedy. His feeling was that, quote, proper medical advice strictly followed, this troublesome practice that many Negroes have of running away can be almost entirely prevented, end quote. In the case of slaves, quote unquote, sulky and dissatisfied without cause, a warning sign of imminent flight, Cartwright prescribed, quote, whipping the devil out of them, end quote, as a quote unquote pervasive measure. Now, basically what he's saying is that not only should you not want to run away, you shouldn't even be dissatisfied being a slave. And when I hear you jackasses, going into the comment section, or rather not hear, but read, you dumb fucks, you asshats, comments in the comment sections of dudes' videos like mine, Ticket TV, Town Biz, Barbershop Conversation 7-8, so on and so forth. There's just too many to name. When I hear you guys talk about we're race baiting or playing a race card, and we come to the defense of our brothers who stand up against racism, like Colin Kaepernick and so on and so forth, and dudes like Shannon Sharp and D.L. Hewley, who stand up adamantly against racism and white supremacy in this country. When I hear people say we're race baiting or we make everything about race, no, we're not making everything about race. We're arguing about the fact that people are continuing to try to hold us down and keep us under their foot and treating us like we're excrement on the bottom of their feet. You know, when things happen, because it's obvious racial disparity in this world, but especially in this country, it's obvious. It's been proven time and time again. Time and time again. But more recently, we're talking about the whole Angel Garcia thing and the Oscar De La Hoya racist email thing with Balderas and Gonzalez exchanging those racist emails about Al Heyman. You know what I'm saying? People are saying we're race baiting, or we don't know what we're talking about. Racism doesn't exist, and this, that, and the third. When they say stuff like that, I think of the word Drapetomania. I couldn't remember the word, but I knew that it was something familiar to the way you guys come at us when we attack racism. Drapetomania. We shouldn't complain about being put down. We shouldn't complain about having people be racist towards us. We shouldn't complain about being treated unfairly in the obvious racial disparity. We shouldn't complain about that. We should just go along happy, smiling and grinning and shucking and jiving and shit, dancing a jig to make you motherfuckers laugh. Stay on the basketball court. Stay on the football field. Don't worry about anything other than that. Well, I say fuck you. Drapetomania is what it is, and that's what you clowns remind me of every time y'all try to come at us talking about we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to racism. Unless you've lived it or are somebody who is completely objective in your viewing of life, then you can't tell us shit. Stop telling us not what to not be offended by when other people do that to us. You don't have the right. You don't have the right. Reverse racism is bullshit, plain and simple. Reverse racism is, I'm referring back to Drapetomania, where we're supposed to want to be in servitude. Why not? I mean, it may not be the best food in the world, but hey, those pig scraps look good. If you're hungry enough, eat those guts. Fuck out of here. Eat the pig ear. They get all the good cuts out of the meat. We get the fucking hooves and the tails and shit and the assholes. Real talk. Hog mugs and chitlin. Guts and stomach, intestine. I've never eaten that in my life, and I never will. Fuck slave food. We call it soul food today. It's slave food. But in any event, Drapetomania. I'll put a link in the description to where you can find the word. Now, I mean, because you probably won't be able to spell it. I'm not trying to, undermine anybody's intelligence, But in any event, I'll put a link in the description. But that's what I think about when I hear you clowns talking about we're trying to race bait or we don't know what we're talking about and racism doesn't exist. Basically, what you're saying, how that translates to me is shut up and just deal with it. What are you complaining for? And this, that, and the third. You should be happy to be treated like crap. Drapetomania. Look it up, man. The word exists. It's not an actual medical diagnosis. However, slaves did cut off the feet of, the masters did cut off the feet of the Africans who tried to get away. I have an ancestor in my family, chopping it up with my cousin. He's been doing the family history. He found out that we had an aunt that had a wooden, that they used to wear, she had a peg leg because her foot got cut off. She used to wear the wooden clogs and stuff like that to cover up the fact that she only had one foot and all. Man, it was crazy, man. Listen, Drapetomania, I'm saying the word again. Every time you clowns try to tell us we don't know what we're talking about, that's exactly what you're doing. You all are the 21st century versions of Samuel A. Cartwright, coming up with that bullshit as diagnosis, saying we're crazy if we don't want to be mistreated and treated like crap and being slaves. That's what y'all do, man. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I've been thinking about this all day. So, yeah. Knowledge, self-determination, like, learn, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.